when I've ever brought them an issue, have said, Nick, you're not the only one that's dealing with this. I know that. So when are we going to fix it for everybody else who's dealing with this? Because this is ridiculous.
Welcome to the Nick Speaks podcast, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud for the disabled community. Tune in every Tuesday, and don't forget to subscribe. And now your host, Nicholas Comstock. This episode of Nick Speaks is brought to you by the Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. At Columbus Restorative, every session is designed to restore balance to the body and mind. From easing stress and tension to supporting overall wellness, their team provides more than just a massage. It's a complete restorative experience. It's about truly restoring your body and mind so you can show up as your best self every single day. Whether you're stressed, sore, or simply need time to reset, their team knows exactly how to help you feel renewed. And listeners of the Nick Speaks podcast can enjoy 20% off their next visit by booking online and using the code SPEAKUP at checkout. That's SPEAKUP, SPEAKUP. Take time to recharge, renew, and restore with Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. Now let's begin today's episode of Nick Speaks.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Nick Speaks podcast, a podcast dedicated to the disabled community where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I am your host, Nick Comstock. You guys, I am so glad you joined me on this Tuesday. I hope you're having a great Tuesday. We're having some bipolar weather here in Ohio. 1 minute it's 60 degrees. The next minute it's 20 below zero. It seems like that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but we did get out of a cold snap here just about a week ago. And it's going between 60 and about 20 degrees. And it's just been crazy. So wherever you are, I hope you're staying warm. And if you're in the South or West, I envy you and I hate you. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well. Before we get into the crux of the show today, I want to let you guys know, the last time I did a monologue, or the last time that we had a show, which was last week, is finally available. I have a website. Hey! So if you want to go on nickspeaksofficial.com, you can find my podcast, my TikTok, my Facebook blog. You can even decide you want to talk to me. You can either become a guest on the Nick Speaks podcast, or you can invite me to speak at your event. So whatever you want to do, all things Nickalicious is at nickspeaksofficial.com. Check it out. Thanks again to my brother Josh for building that website. And I appreciate you and love you so much. So check it out. Nick Speaks Official. You guys, I want to talk about something today that I have been going through for the past several months. I would say since about last October up until now. And I'm going to talk about the struggle it is for people with disabilities to get equipment approved or paid for through Medicaid or any insurance, really. And I want to share something that I've been going through for a while. I made a Facebook blog about this on February 19th, and it really took off. So if you are not paying attention to my blog, go to Facebook, type in my name, Nicholas Comstock, and become a follower there, because I write a blog about every few days or so. I try to write it every day, but sometimes I don't get to it. And I wrote this blog called Medicaid Says They Must Provide It. DME companies say they won't, and I'm stuck in the middle. Let me tell you where I'm stuck in the middle. So last October, I went to see my friends at the wheelchair clinic here in Columbus, Ohio. It's where the whole state of Ohio really goes to get their wheelchairs worked on. And it's in Columbus. And I went to see my therapist there. And I told them, I said, I need a portable Hoyer lift to get to medical appointments and speaking engagements. For like when I go out of town for speaking engagements, I need a way to get transferred. And also if I go to medical appointments. And my therapist said, I have the perfect one for you. She said, let me pull up this lift, and she showed it to me. It is called the Mo Smart 150 portable patient electric lift. And this lift can be broken down into a vehicle, and it is electric, and it is a Medicaid covered item. The problem that my team and I have run into is that even though it is a Medicaid covered item, DME companies, durable medical equipment companies, say they will not order the equipment because the Medicaid reimbursement rates are too low. Medicaid says, however, that they are not allowed to do that. DME companies are not allowed to do that simply because they don't like the Medicaid reimbursement rate. If it's a covered item and they provide equipment like that, they are supposed to order it. They are not allowed to turn down a covered piece of equipment simply because they don't like the Medicaid reimbursement rate. And my case manager has called over half, if not all, the DME companies in my county, and they have all said the same thing. We will not order this piece of equipment because the Medicaid reimbursement rate is too low. We'll order you a cheaper hand crank lift. We will order you a floor electric lift, which is not portable, but we will not order this Mo Smart 150 portable electric lift because the Medicaid reimbursement rates are too low. Medicaid says they're not allowed to do that. And the DME companies say, well, you're not going to tell us how to run our business. In so many words. But if you're contracted through Medicaid, I don't think companies should be allowed to say, well, we're not going to order that equipment because we'll lose money on it. I don't think they should be allowed to say that. Yes, they're a business at the end of the day, and they're in the business to make money. I have to say, well, if you're in the business to make money, why would you ever contract with the United States government? To me, that's almost laughable. And you say, Nick, that was a bit of a fake laugh. I know, don't judge me, okay? But if you're in the business to make money, why would you ever sign a contract with a federal or a state government? Because the government is not in the business of helping people make money. The government is in the business of saving money and wasting money. So why any business would sign up to contract with the federal or state governments is beyond me. But anyway, that's another story for another day. And I just want to say this has been really difficult for me for the last several months, because without a lift like this, I am having to forego a full medical exam because I don't have a way to get on my doctor's exam table safely. I am having to forego a sleep study that I need to have redone because I lost the sleep equipment, which we will also talk about. I cannot have out of town speaking engagements because I would have to go and come back in the same day, and I don't have a way to transfer safely. So this has really been a hindrance to me for the last several months. And for those of you saying, why can't you use a crank lift? Simply, they're not safe. In my opinion, and I know a lot of other opinions out there, they're not safe. I have actually fallen out of a crank lift because one of my family members was trying to help me use one at one point, and I ended up falling out of it. Before you say, well, hospitals and doctors' offices, they're supposed to have lifts. They don't. They don't. I've never been able to get a full medical exam since I have not been able to be physically picked up anymore. I have never been able to get a full medical exam. And doctors' offices do not have these lifts, even though they're supposedly supposed to. They don't. And the ones that the hospital has are all the same. They are these big, bulky Hoyer lifts that look like a set of monkey bars. The one that I've seen at every hospital that I've been to is this big, bulky Hoyer lift that looks like a set of monkey bars, and it's purple. And it's not compatible with my sling. In fact, hospitals are so scared about liability that they don't even allow me to use my own sling. I have to put their sling on top of my sling in order to use their lift. That's not even appropriate. It's too big, and it takes like 3 people to use that lift. And then my favorite, well, we're not allowed to help you transfer because of liability. So what are people like me in wheelchairs supposed to do? A DME company says they won't provide a piece of Medicaid covered equipment because the reimbursement rate is too low, but yet they've chosen to do business with the federal government. But yet you're going to choose not to order a piece of equipment that the government insurance covers. The one that you signed to do business with, you're going to choose not to order a piece of equipment that they cover because you don't like their reimbursement rates on a product. How is that fair to someone like me? And I know I'm not the only one out there who struggles with this. The Facebook post that I made on February 19th called Medicaid Says They Must Provide It, DME companies say they won't, and I'm stuck in the middle. That Facebook post has received over 200 reactions, over 200 comments, and over 80 shares. And the stories that I have heard in the comment section in that post are just mind-boggling to me. And you guys want to say to me, well, you're voting for the wrong side. You're voting for people that'll take away your benefits. Well, the benefits that I have aren't helping me anyway, so what am I supposed to do? And before you say, well, all you want is a luxury item, please do me a favor and go home and take all of your luxury items that you use on a daily basis away and go back to living in the 19th, okay? Take away your microwave, take away your gas stove, take away your washer and dryer, take away your quote unquote luxuries that you use and nobody blinks an eye about it. But someone like me who's a wheelchair user and needs a lift in order to live his everyday life, just because it's electric and portable, all of a sudden it becomes a luxury. I think we really need to talk about what is really a luxury and what is not. Because a lot of the items that wheelchair users need and other people need are not luxury items. They're at luxury prices, but they're not luxury items. Okay? I don't look at my power wheelchair as a luxury. I don't look at the ceiling track that is in my room so I can get in and out of my chair as a luxury. Now, sure, are they at luxury prices? Hey, I don't make the prices, okay? And to be honest with you, I think the DME companies and Medicaid and Medicare and all these other insurance work together. And I seriously believe they price gouge and they make simple products that are 3 times expensive as to what they should be. For example, the wheelchair that I'm sitting in right now is $30,000, but I guarantee you it doesn't have $30,000 worth of bells and whistles on it. And so, what am I supposed to do? Am I just supposed to only get a full medical exam when I'm in a hospital for something much more serious? Am I supposed to just go risk falling out of a wheelchair because they don't have the proper equipment and just pray that I don't fall out of a wheelchair or get hurt at an appointment because I need the medical care? What am I supposed to do? Let me tell you about my sleep apnea struggle. Last June, I was diagnosed with severe sleep apnea. Okay, so you go in, you do a sleep study. I got there, I told them beforehand, we needed access to a Hoyer lift. I was not able to transfer on my own. They said, okay, that's fine. I got there. They had the big purple monkey bar Hoyer lift that I described earlier. And guess what? No one on that team knew how to use it. And you know what they also told me? They told me, we're not allowed to help you transfer because of liability. So if I would not have brought my caregiver with me that night, I would have been up a creek without a paddle. And guess what? All 4 of those staff members who said they weren't allowed to help me transfer ended up having to help us transfer because it was so chaotic. My primary caregiver even told them, you're not hooking these straps up right. This is dangerous. He could fall. Thank God I didn't. But let me tell you about the rest of my sleep apnea journey. When I was in the hospital for my sleep apnea test, and it wasn't actually a hospital, it was a quiet little center thing, I guess. And when I was there for my sleep apnea test, the mask kept falling off. So the staff had to keep coming in and readjusting it at night. And they said, Nick, once you get your durable medical equipment company assigned, you'll be able to do a mask fitting and you'll have the proper mask. I said, okay, great. Went home. I had the durable medical equipment company assigned for my sleep apnea equipment. They never sent me the right equipment. I called and I called and I called. My not my case manager, my caregiver went up to the DME company at least twice and said, hey, we need the proper equipment. The mask doesn't fit his face. We finally did a mask fitting on Labor Day weekend. I remember where I was when I did it because they said we could do it over the phone. I was sitting in a restaurant when they called me and they said, okay, this is the type of mask that you need, Nick. Now, because it's Labor Day weekend, it's probably not going to come to you right away, but it'll be here. The mask never came. I went up to the DME company on September 22nd. I said, I need my sleep apnea equipment. I need my mask because I can't use the machine. By this time, I started getting letters in the mail saying that I ran the risk of losing my sleep apnea equipment because I wasn't using it, because I wasn't able to use it, because the mask that they would send me in the mail, number one, wouldn't even go over my head. Number two, the only mask that even remotely fit on my face was the one that they gave me the night of the sleep study last June. And we would call and I went up there and I said, look, I need this equipment. And they said, okay, we'll order it. They never ordered it and I ended up losing the machine. So now what they want me to do is go through another in-lab sleep study because I lost the machine. You say, Nick, you can do sleep studies at home. No, they won't allow me to now because I lost the machine. And they didn't want me to do it at home in the first place. They said I have severe sleep apnea and I'm in the OSU medical system. And you know what I was told? OSU East is the only one that does a sleep study. They're the only one in the entire OSU medical system that does a sleep study. If I wanted to go somewhere else to get a sleep study done, I would have to go outside of the OSU system, register as a new patient in a system like Ohio Health, and then have my results transferred back to OSU. Now, please tell me, what kind of bullshit sense does this make? This does not make any sense at all. And people like me suffer like this every day because people in power don't make the right decisions. And people in power don't think about what their decisions or how their decisions are going to affect other people. The most Smart 150 portable patient lift is not a luxury. It is a necessity for me to be able to live everyday life. I don't need this specific lift. If you guys don't want me to have a specific lift, fine. I don't need that specific lift. I told somebody the other day I was on the phone with, I'm not a brand whore. If you don't want to pay for that one, pay for another one. But it has to be electric and it has to be something that can be broken down and that we can take in our company minivan so that I can do medical exams, go to the chiropractor, which I haven't been able to go to for a year. I was able to go to the chiropractor for several years because thankfully I had a good chiropractor and they were trained on how to use the Hoyer lift, and I would bring my manual Hoyer lift. But the difference is I had 4 big guys that were the chiropractors there helping transfer me. They were willing to take the risk to do that, and I appreciate it. But a lot of these doctors aren't willing to take the risk, and they don't legally have the right equipment that they're supposed to have. That everybody likes to tell me, well, hospitals and doctors are supposed to have transfer equipment. They don't. And even if they do, the nurses and people there don't know how to use them. So I ask again, what are people like me supposed to do? Go without care until we get bad enough that we almost tragically lose our life? Because I have a severe case of sleep apnea, people, but I've heard that even if you use the sleep apnea machines, it only extends your life for about 3 years. That's not the point. If my doctors are telling me, hey, you really need this, this is really severe, then why don't you have the equipment to do the test properly? Why? If I'm entitled to medical care like everyone else without a disability, it's not my fault that I need special equipment to transfer. Why don't we have the proper equipment in America? Supposedly the greatest country on earth, which I do believe, but yet in 2020, we don't have the Hoyer list, the proper Hoyer list to transfer people in wheelchairs. We have insurance companies that say, oh, we want to help you, but then they make us tangle up in all this red tape. And by the time we're done fighting, we're exhausted and we're like, fuck it. We don't want to deal with it anymore. Excuse my French. Sorry, not sorry. But this should not be the case in America. And sadly, it is. I've heard so many stories on my post. I heard about a story about a mom who lives in, I think she said Iowa, and they approved a lift for her son, but they did not give them the right sling. And the sling ended up folding, their 4-year-old child in half and scared the daylights out of him, which I could totally understand. She went to her doctor, according to this woman, and said, "We need another sling." And according to this woman, this doctor laughed in her face and said, "Good luck. We already paid for that one. We're not paying for another one." So this mom is breaking her back to transfer her son, who is now 13. And she is worried that if he, when he gets to a point where he needs another lift, and he will get to that point, that he's going to be denied. Again, this is absolutely tragic. And I call on people in state and federal Congress to change, to eliminate the red tape that is surrounding the services and insurance companies for people with disabilities. I call on people in Medicaid to, number one, do things like raise their reimbursement rates. I call on Medicaid to hold DME companies their feet to the fire. And DME companies, if you don't want to take Medicaid's reimbursement rates, then get out of business with Medicaid and Medicare. But if you're going to say, yes, we will do this, remember, you are dealing with people on the other end of the line, people who really depend on this equipment. So if you're going to sign up with Medicaid and Medicare and say, yes, we'll provide this covered equipment, you can't leave the sandbox and go home because Medicaid reimbursement rate or Medicare reimbursement rate is too low. No, that's what you signed up for. According to Medicaid, you don't get to make that decision. But plenty of DME companies are making that decision. Because like I said, my case manager for my waiver in my county has called over half of the DME companies in my county, and they have all said the same thing. We know it's a covered item, but we will not order it because of the Medicaid reimbursement rate. I called a DME company that I used in the previous county that I used to live in. They said the exact same thing. And you know what the higher ups are telling me? Keep calling a DME company until you get someone that is willing to provide it. So you expect my case manager to call all the DME companies in the state of Ohio, which, by the way, we have 88 counties. Do the math. I went to special ed. I suck at it, okay? I suck at math. That's 88 counties. The higher ups, case managers instructed to listen to, are telling him, call DME companies until you get a provider that's willing to take it. If I were my case manager, and I know you listen to this, I would say to them, okay, you want me to do this for one person? Then you give me a raise for every phone call that I have to make. Otherwise, I won't do it. Or these supervisors and these higher ups that are telling him to do this, they should get on the phone. And by the way, my case manager supervisor has no idea what to do either. She has said, I'm at a loss. And this is nothing against my case manager, nothing against their supervisor. They are both at a loss of what to do. And I hope somebody in Medicaid listens to this and says, wait, what you talking about, Willis? For those of you that don't know that reference, what you talking about, Willis, is a Different Strokes reference. You say, Nick, Different Strokes was on in the 1970s. I know. I'm an old soul. I love old TV, okay? Yeah. But this is why I do the Nick Speaks podcast. This is why I say in every podcast, this is the podcast dedicated to the disabled community where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. And today, this is an issue that I'm speaking up, speaking out, and speaking loud about. because I know I'm not the only one that is dealing with this. And by the way, that's every case manager that I've ever had, except the current one that I have, when I've ever brought them an issue, have said, Nick, you're not the only one that's dealing with this. I know that. So when are we going to fix it for everybody else who's dealing with this? Because this is ridiculous. And if I have the right to have a medical exam like everyone else, and if I have the right to go to work, travel, and make money like everyone else, then I need to be able to have the equipment that is going to allow me to do those things. And before you say, well, then you should purchase it yourself. Really? I'm not even allowed to have anything over $2,000 in my bank account. The lift that I'm requesting cost $4,000. So you tell me, if I'm not allowed to save anything over $2,000 in my account, where am I going to get the other $2,000 for the lift? And don't even give me this, we'll get a stable account. Okay. So I have to get another account in order to get the equipment I need? Ridiculous. No, it's covered by Medicaid. The Medicaid DME companies signed a contract with Medicaid and said, we will provide covered items. And they're saying, we're not going to provide this. If it were my world and my choice, Medicaid providers would not be able to say that. And this needs to change. So I would love to hear your stories, because like I've said many times throughout this podcast, I know I'm not the only one that is going through something like this. And this is why this podcast is here, to call out the bullshit that is happening in the disabled community and to initiate change. And if we don't talk about it, and if we don't speak out loud about it, then it will never happen. The goal of this podcast is to make people with disabilities the loudest voice in the room. And this is something I intend to keep getting loud about, because it's ridiculous. Thank you guys for listening to this episode today. Please share this with a friend or family member. And remember, please check out Nick Speaks Official, and you can email me there, still the same email address. You can check out my Facebook blog. You can check out my TikTok. You can check out where to listen to the podcast. So please check out nickspeaksofficial.com. And remember, this is the Nick Speaks podcast, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I will see you guys next week for an all-new episode. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Nick Speaks podcast, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud for the disabled community. If today's conversation resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a new episode. You can find Nick across all platforms by visiting his Linktree in the show notes. And please leave a comment to join the conversation. Until next time, keep speaking up, keep speaking out, and keep speaking loud.